The stars stretched across the dark sky, silent and endless. On the surface of a ruined alien world, one figure walked alone. She was young, fragile, and heartbreakingly beautiful. Her skin shimmered faintly under the dim light, but her eyes carried a deep sadness. Eyes of someone who had seen too much loss. She was the last of her kind. Her people once filled the cities with life, laughter, and power. Now, the cities were nothing but broken towers and silent dust. Every street she passed reminded her of voices that no longer existed. The wind carried only echoes of what had been. Every night she stood on a crumbling rooftop, looking up at the stars. She whispered to them, as if someone, somewhere, could hear. Please, not let me be alone. But the stars never answered. Her days were spent wandering the empty ruins, searching for food, water, and above all, hope. Yet hope was harder to find than anything else. Every step reminded her that she was walking on graves, walking on the ashes of her own people. But she still survived. She survived because of one burning thought. If she died, her entire kind would vanish forever. No one would remember them. No one would know they ever existed. She was the last thread in a broken chain, and she could not let it snap. One evening, as the red sun of her dying world sank into the horizon, she felt something different. A strange sound, a hum in the sky. She froze, her heart pounding. For years, nothing new had entered this world. No life, no visitor, no sound of machines. Yet now there it was. She climbed the ruins, her eyes searching the clouds. The sound grew louder. A sharp beam of light cut through the dust-filled air. She gasped. Something was descending from the sky. Something alive, something unknown. Her hands trembled. She had dreamed of this moment countless times. Someone had come. Someone from the stars. Fear and hope collided inside her. What if it was dangerous? What if they destroyed what little remained? But what if this was her chance? She pressed herself against the shadows of a ruined wall, her glowing eyes fixed on the landing craft. For the first time in years, she was not alone on this planet. The last alien girl of her kind had finally found a reason to hope, because a human had just arrived. The small ship landed with a hiss of steam, its metal legs sinking slightly into the soft alien soil. Dust swirled around the clearing as the engine slowly went silent. The girl pressed herself deeper into the shadows, her heart racing faster than it ever had before. The door of the ship opened with a heavy creak, and a figure stepped out. Tall, strong, different. She had never seen a creature like him before. Skin pale, hair dark, eyes sharp and cautious. His suit of strange fabric shimmered under the fading light. A human. He looked around carefully, holding a device in his hand that beeped and flashed. He scanned the ruins, his eyes narrowing as he studied the broken towers. His voice echoed inside his helmet, low and calm, speaking words the girl did not understand. But she felt his presence, and it terrified her. Her first instinct was to run, to hide deeper into the ruins. But her body refused to move. For years, she had begged the stars for someone, anyone, to come. And now, when someone finally arrived, she was too afraid to step forward. The human walked slowly, his boots crunching on the ancient stone. He stopped near a broken statue and knelt, brushing dust away with his gloved hand. His face softened as he studied the carvings, as if he understood that this place was once alive, once full of meaning. The girl's breath caught. Her people had been forgotten by the universe, but here was someone looking at their remains with respect. Not laughter, not cruelty, respect. The human straightened and turned. For one terrifying moment, his eyes locked with hers. She froze in the shadows, her glowing eyes betraying her hiding place. He raised his device, the beeping growing louder. He knew. He wasn't alone. The girl gasped and stepped back, her heart hammering. She wanted to run, but her legs shook. The human slowly lifted one hand, not a weapon, not a threat. Just a hand, open and calm. "Don't be afraid," he said softly. The words were strange, but his tone carried warmth. her eyes filled with tears. She had not heard a living voice in so many years. The sound alone made her chest ache with longing. For the first time, she stepped out of the shadows. The human's eyes widened as he saw her, fragile, radiant, glowing faintly in the twilight. She was unlike anything he had ever seen. Beautiful but broken, alone. And in that moment, two worlds collided. One human, one alien. Both unsure, both afraid, but both desperate for connection. The human stood frozen, staring at the girl who had stepped from the shadows. Her skin glowed faintly, like soft silver under the red sky. Her long hair drifted in the evening wind, and her eyes, bright and trembling, looked straight into his. For a moment, neither moved. The ruins around them were silent, as if the dead city itself was holding its breath. Finally, the girl spoke. Her voice was soft, broken, yet full of desperate strength. Her language was strange, but her meaning carried through. "You are not from here," she whispered. The human lowered his hand slightly and nodded. "I came from the stars," he answered. Her lips trembled. She took a step closer, her thin frame shaking. "Then you are my only hope." The words cut through him like a blade. He frowned, unsure of what she meant. But the way her voice cracked told him this was no simple request. Tears filled her glowing eyes as she lifted her face toward him. "I am the last," she said. "My people all gone. Every voice, every life gone. Only me remains." Her hands shook as she pressed them against her chest. "And when I die, my kind will vanish forever." The human's chest tightened. He had expected ruins, maybe even survivors. But this one single girl carrying the weight of an entire species. She stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "I beg you, help me continue my kind." The human blinked, shocked by the words. His heart pounded, his mind spinning. He understood now what she was asking was more than survival, more than friendship. She wanted something only he could give. The silence stretched between them, heavy and suffocating. He took a step back, struggling to process. "You want me to—" He couldn't even finish the sentence. Her tears slipped down her cheeks. She lowered herself to her knees in front of him, her voice breaking. "Please, you are the first life I have seen in years. The first hope. I cannot let my people be forgotten. I cannot let their blood vanish." The human felt his throat tighten. His training, his duty, his morality. All of it clashed with the desperate plea in her voice. For years she had begged the stars. And now, face to face with a human, she begged again. Her words echoed in the ruins like a prayer. "Save my kind, or let me fade alone." The human stood still, his chest heavy, his breath uneven. The alien girl remained on her knees, her glowing eyes locked on him, full of pain and desperate hope. Her words echoed in his mind again and again. "Save my kind, or let me fade alone." He wanted to speak, but no words came. He was a soldier, an explorer trained to survive, to follow orders, to complete missions. But nothing in his training had prepared him for this. How could he decide the future of an entire species? He looked down at her fragile form. She was trembling, not from cold, but from fear that he might walk away. Her shoulders were thin, her hands pressed tightly together as if she was praying. For a long moment he turned away. He stared at the sky, at his ship, at the stars that had brought him here. "Why me?" he thought. "Why now?" The girl rose slowly to her feet, her voice weak but steady. "If you refuse me, I understand. But know this, my people will be gone forever. I will die as the last voice of my kind." Her words pierced him deeper than any weapon could. He had lost comrades before, seen humans fall in battle, but never had he faced the end of an entire race in one fragile figure. The human clenched his fists. Part of him wanted to escape, to leave, to run back to his ship, to let the galaxy forget. But another part, the quieter part, whispered to him, "If you walk away, she dies. And with her, an entire history dies too." He turned back to her. The girl's eyes were wet with tears, shining in the dim light. She stepped closer, her voice softer now, almost pleading. I do not ask this for myself alone. I ask for the voices of all who came before me. I carry their memory. I carry their blood. Without you, it ends here. His heart pounded painfully. He saw the truth in her words. This was not just about survival. It was about legacy, about life. The silence stretched between them, heavy, unbroken. The human's lips parted, but before he could answer, the night air shifted. A sound echoed from deep within the ruins. Low, guttural, dangerous. The girl froze, her eyes widening in fear. The human instantly raised his weapon, instincts kicking in. Hope and fear clashed in both their hearts as the shadows around them began to stir. The choice was no longer his alone. The ruins trembled with a low growl that echoed through the broken streets. The human gripped his weapon tightly, his eyes scanning the darkness. The alien girl clung to his arm, her body trembling. They have found us, she whispered, her voice shaking with terror. He glanced at her. Who? She swallowed hard, her glowing eyes darting to the shadows. Hunters, creatures born from this world's death. They came after my people when we were weak. They fed on us, until none were left. The growl came again, closer now, followed by heavy footsteps scraping against stone. The human's instincts sharpened. Whatever was coming was not just an animal, it was a predator. From the dark alleys, shapes began to emerge. Their bodies were twisted, armored with bone-like plates, their mouths lined with jagged teeth. Eyes gleamed red as they moved in a pack, surrounding the clearing where the human and the girl stood. The girl backed away, clutching the human's sleeve. Please, don't let them take me. The human's jaw tightened. Stay behind me. The first creature lunged. The human fired his weapon, the blast tearing through the beast's chest. It collapsed with a shriek, but the others did not stop. They growled louder, their movements faster, hungrier. The human fired again and again, each shot lighting the ruins with a flash of energy. 2 more creatures fell, but the pack pressed closer, crawling along the walls, leaping from the shadows. The girl cried out as one of them nearly reached her, but the human spun and struck it down with a brutal kick, blasting it before it could rise again. His heart raced, his arms burned, but he stood firm, between her and the monsters. Run, he shouted, pushing her toward the broken arch of a ruined tower. She hesitated, tears in her eyes. Not without you, he growled and pulled her forward, firing over his shoulder. The creatures chased, their roars shaking the night. Dust and debris rained from the broken stone as claws scraped inches from their backs. Finally, the pair burst into the open square of the city's heart. The human shoved the girl behind a shattered monument and reloaded. Sweat poured down his face as he aimed again. The girl crouched low, clutching her chest. Her people had died screaming under these same monsters. But this time someone fought for her. For the first time in years, she was not running alone. And the human, though bleeding, though surrounded, refused to let her die. The human's weapon fired again and again, each blast echoing through the dead city. Another creature fell, but the pack was endless. Their claws scraped the stone. Their roars filled the night, and their glowing eyes locked on only one target, the alien girl. The human's breathing grew heavy. His arm burned from recoil, and his strength was fading. He had faced battles before, but never like this. He was one man against a swarm, and every second counted. The girl crouched behind the shattered monument, tears streaming down her face. She wanted to run, to hide, but her heart refused. The human was fighting for her, bleeding for her. She couldn't just watch. Then, in a flash, one of the hunters broke through the human's fire. It lunged straight for him, teeth bared. He turned too slow. No! The girl screamed. Without thinking, she threw herself forward, her small frame slamming into the beast. The creature snarled, its claws slicing across her side. Pain ripped through her body, but she held on, glowing light bursting from her skin. The human's heart froze. Get back! He roared, but it was too late. With trembling hands, The girl pushed against the creature's chest, her voice breaking. "You will not take him. You will not take the last hope I have." The creature shrieked, stunned by the sudden burst of energy from her body. For a brief moment, her alien blood burned with the strength of her ancestors. The glow blinded the beast, and the human seized the chance, driving his weapon into its skull. The monster collapsed in a heap of smoke and dust. But the girl fell with it. The human dropped his weapon and caught her before she hit the ground. Blood stained his hands as he pulled her close. Her body was cold, her breath shallow. "Why?" he whispered, his voice breaking. "Why would you do that?" Her eyes fluttered open, tears glowing like liquid stars. "Because you are all I have left. My people lived through me, and I could not let you fall. If you die, then all hope dies with you." His chest tightened as he held her trembling form. She was so fragile, so small, and yet, she had risked everything to save him. Around them, the remaining creatures hissed, circling again. But the human no longer felt fear. Something inside him shifted. He looked down at her, her lips trembling with one final plea. "Please, do not let my kind end with me." Her voice faded into the night, leaving him with a choice heavier than any battle he had ever fought. The human held her in his arms, her body weak, her glowing light fading like the last flame of a dying star. Around them, the hunters growled, but their leader lay dead, and the others slowly retreated into the shadows. The ruins fell silent once more. He looked down at the alien girl. Her eyes flickered open, filled with tears, but still carrying that desperate spark of hope. Her voice was almost a whisper. "Do not let my kind vanish." The human swallowed hard, his chest aching. He had traveled the stars searching for knowledge, for adventure, never expecting to find the weight of an entire species in his hands. Yet here she was, the last of her kind, fragile, broken, but unyielding. He brushed the dust from her cheek, his voice low but steady. "You won't fade. Not while I breathe." Her trembling lips curved into the faintest smile. For years she had begged the empty stars, and now, finally, someone had answered. The human carefully lifted her and carried her back toward his ship. Each step was heavy, not from her weight, but from the decision that now burned in his soul. He was no longer just an explorer. He had become the last chance for an entire race. Inside the ship, the hum of engines filled the silence. He laid her gently on a seat, wrapping her wounds as best as he could. She watched him with tired eyes, whispering, "Will you take me with you?" He met her gaze and nodded firmly. "You're not alone anymore." The girl's eyes widened, shimmering with gratitude. A tear rolled down her cheek, not from sorrow, but from relief. The ship's engines roared, lifting off the ground. The ruined city shrank beneath them, disappearing into clouds of dust. The girl looked down one last time at her dead world, then turned her eyes back to the stars. The human sat beside her, his hand steady on the controls. For the first time, he felt something he had never known before. A responsibility larger than himself, larger than humanity. The stars stretched before them, endless and full of possibility. And in that moment, he silently vowed that her kind would not be forgotten. He would fight, he would protect, and he would give her people a chance to rise again. The girl leaned against him, her voice barely audible but filled with hope. Then, a new beginning. The ship vanished into the darkness of space, carrying with it the last alien girl of her kind, and the human who had chosen to save her.